Ryan Grossman, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's your first podcast, right?
Very first podcast.
Yeah, sick. I appreciate you coming on, honestly.
Yeah. Thank you.
How long did it take you? When did you fly in?
I got here 2 days ago. Got here at night and got picked up from the airport and got straight into it. Me and James started messing with his bike. We were playing with his car. He's got the dual carbs on the knucklehead, so we were messing with that. And right when it was finally time to, we were done pissing off the neighbors because, he lives in like a small neighborhood. And once we were done revving and shit, we were like, all right, let's go ride. And of course it started raining right away. Yeah. Well, we were good sports. We got out there and right away there's a lot of anticipation on the trip. Like a lot of people want to see Tom's bike get wheelied. Yeah, everybody want to see that. So, I'm a little rusty, so I got to get out there and, get my wings again. So yeah, first one of the trip, man, I was like just me and James. It's about 11:30 at night. Fucking ripped the thing going downhill, almost over the top, and I was thinking, here it is, man. I'll be in the fucking neck cast before I even get out here. You know what I mean? But worked out, came down, pretty much landed and ran out of gas. We actually ran to 3 gas stations. We knew we needed gas. Yeah. We went to a gas station. My cart, James was like, I don't got my card. Yeah. I'm like, I got you, dude. You know what I mean? Went to put my card in, doesn't work. So then we're like, we'll find another one. But it's late at night, the stuff closes early. So we get to the next one, it's closed. We get to the 3rd station, it's closed. So he's like, let's just head back to my house. Well, we start ripping back to the house, run out. So he had to save me the first night, but got into the spot, had a good night's rest, and then woke up yesterday. And I didn't want to be up here bugging him because I know he's got a lot of stuff going on. So made it out to, actually I was like looking up stuff to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go play golf.
Yeah,
dude.
you go play golf.
So,
yeah.
So I went and played golf, joined up, rode the bike out there, super unconventional. Everyone's like, and I didn't realize I know golf is like a old man, gentleman sport.
Do you play golf? Is that like
a little bit? You know what I mean? I wouldn't say it more plays me than anything. You know what I mean? But I got out there and was like, kid, I don't want to play by myself. I want to go with somebody. I don't want to be lonely, man.
Yeah, of course.
So I got out there and these 2 70-year-old brothers are like, oh, come on with us, So I ended up ripping with them for a little bit, got out of there, rode around a bit last night, and then met up with everybody, and oh shit, man, here we are, and I still haven't.
So they were just 2 strangers,
two guys two nice gentlemen, the guy at the golf club's like, let me go talk to these dudes. They were out on the deck or whatever. He goes, yeah, go join these dudes out there. I get out there, and it's like the 2 nicest guys. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Hey, blah, blah. Started talking to them. They're like, come on in, dude. Next thing I know, I'm like, what's up with your nails, dude? The one guy on his right nails had the most beautifully manicured, polished fingernails all on his right hand. Yeah. And then he had the Welsh flag on his thumb painted. And I was like, what's up, dude? He's like, I'm a musician. So he plays guitar, and he's like, I got to keep the shit beautiful, you know what I mean?
Sick.
Anyways, cool. All walks of life, everybody's cool. You can never judge a book by its cover. Totally. We had a great time, and they only played you play 18 holes. They played 11 because the way the course rolled out or whatever. And they're like, we got shit to do. We're gonna dip off. So I just ripped through it, got up to the next group. I'm like, hey guys, can I play with you? They're like, no, we're playing a gentleman's match. They're like, play through it, just fucking whack.
That's why I was kind of surprised that they let you jump on, because that's usually the
for sure
the attitude.
Especially me. I was literally wearing this exact same outfit too.
That's hilarious.
I was just thinking man, they must think I'm just some weirdo hooligan, which I am, of course.
Did you hold them up? Were they really good, or were you?
No, not at all. Sick. Yeah, actually,
cool.
we were doing it,
Yeah.
And so it worked out pretty cool. And they were like, all right, we're going to pull off. So they pulled off, and I pulled up to this next group. I'm like, you guys want to play? And they're like, nah, go ahead. So I run, I'm hustling, get through the next hole. And then the next hole, the guy's like, can I join with you guys? And they're like, nah, go ahead. I fucking finished the shit so quick. When hilarious. I rolled back to the last hole, I fucking knocked one right on the green, and I hear clapping, and I'm like, what? Really? And it was the 2 brothers. They were up there finishing a coffee and a beer. So I ended up going back up there man, you finished quick. Ended up going up there and then started meeting up with all the homies last night, and getting into it and ripping around. And I finally took my water wings off and got some wheelies cracking, it's all good,
How many times have you been here now?
This is my second time now.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so last year was your first time, wasn't it?
Yep, and no bike. obviously having Tom Fugel's bike out here has been such a blessing. I can't thank James enough.
How did that work out? Did James get that shipped over? And
yeah, we actually talked about it last year, and like, just there's so much planning and time that needs to go into it. We just weren't able to pull it off, and he really, really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really did too, but it's just like, it was nervous. I was nervous to let the thing go, of course.
Yeah, totally.
But I knew,
Go on.
no, I just knew I could trust James, and that no matter what, it was going to be safe over here. And so it actually was only supposed to take like a month, and it ended up, it got delayed. It just showed up about, I don't know if it was 8 days ago or something like that. So we kind of squeezed through and just made it,
So that it took like 2 months to get here then.
2 months, yeah.
Yeah. And I bet it must have been nerve-wracking, like not knowing where it was for that month.
For sure. I tried to leave him alone. He was like, hey, it's delayed. It's going to be here the 21st. So I just for 3 weeks, I just didn't contact him. I'm like, it is what it is. You got to trust the process. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And of course, it showed up on the 21st, and he had somebody go collect it right away. And I had a big bagger rental bike thing last year, which I really appreciated, because hey, a bike's a bike, and if you're riding, especially in unfamiliar places that are insane that you've never seen before, it's an experience in its own.
Yeah,
but
it's not the same though.
Man, I mean, I've really been feeling the love, and especially being on my own bike that's here, it's been something, and even today we ripping with the whole crew, it was a really good day. The last 3 days have been all good. I'm living on the bike, ripping. So
tell us about that bike.
What's that?
The Tom Fugel bike.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How did you come to get that?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm sitting around, and I get a phone call, and it's a guy named Nemo. He's a Hell's Angel in Minnesota, and Tom only had one Panhead engine. When Tom built the double diamond for Born Free, he took the engine out of the Only One Love, which is the blue bike, and he put it in the double diamond, and got the thing done and everything, and he won, and he went to Japan and toured it around the world and all that kind of stuff. And then when he was done, it all came back. He was really sick, and he knew that he wanted to give the bike to his daughter. He wanted to make sure that the Only One Love went to his daughter. So Sebastian, from what I understand, Sebastian from Sweden and Bill Mize from Iowa helped him switch the motor out, and they got the blue bike running again, the Only One Love.
Sick.
And at that point, he gave the bike to Natasha.
Right.
That's his daughter. Natasha had it, and he wanted to make sure it was in safekeeping.
Yeah.
So I get a call one day from one of the local guys over in my area, who Nemo, who's a Minnesota member, called him. Hey, would you know anybody interested in this? And he goes, yeah, you got to call Ryan. Yeah. So next thing you know, I'm like, I was on already a 5-day trip with my craziest buddy, Kenny Slaughter, and we went down to Birmingham, Alabama. We went to the Haints party. We were on the road, really hit it hard, about drained the whole entire battery, but I still had like my the best thing coming still was meeting up with Nemo in Minnesota. Nemo went, this is kind of a crazy story, and this is the way I heard it, so I'm going to tell it the way I heard it, and this is the truth. And Paulo. So anyways, the roller was taken apart because the engine was out of it, and it was put back in the blue bike. Nemo came into the roller when Jenny sold it, when Tom passed. Everything got sold off to one guy, and he did a bad deal, and he ripped her off and didn't pay the money, but he took everything.
Shit.
Yeah, he only gave her some of the money.
Fuck.
So the way it worked out, she made some phone calls, and things started coming back to people. And that there was a period of time where Nemo had it in his tattoo shop for years, and he was looking to push it on. He needed some money, So I was able to get the call through some good friends, and next thing you know, I'm on this 5-day trip with Kenny, and we push up to St. Paul and meet up with Nemo, get the deal. And at this point, I've already been running. I think we did the deal. It was like 1 a.m. at that point. And Nemo's like, let's go to the strip club. We got to do all this shit. I'm like, dude, I'm your guy, but I'm not your guy right now. Like, I'm so sorry, man. I'm dead, And not to mention, I got to drive 34 hours back, right now. So, and on the way up to Minnesota, my buddy Pete dropped me off at the airport. We came up together from where we were at. Got a rental van, little minivan, and I took the double diamond and pushed it in. It's a long bike, you know, and put the handlebars down. And that was like the start of my minivan rental. I started renting minivans like crazy after that because I'm like, dude, this is way cheaper. You get a U-Haul truck, they're expensive, like $1,500, whatever. You get a minivan, they're like 200 or something. So you drop it off. So anyways, we do the deal, drive 34 hours straight back. And I'm just like, want to get one good night's sleep. But before I need to back up because before I leave, I go see Zach Doom from Heavy, who was a member with Tom before he passed as well. And Zach was like, hey, you know, Natasha is possibly trying to sell this bike, the Only One Love, to a tattoo magazine in Germany. And I go, no way. He goes, man, this would be the time. If anything, you got to get on it. So as soon as I hit the road with the double diamond, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but as soon as I hit the road with the double diamond in the minivan, driving back, I got nothing to do but make calls. I got 34 hours to go. I give Gentry a call. Gentry was in the 21 Days Under the Sky when we went and visited Tom. And before Tom passed, he told Natasha, his daughter, he said, you can trust Gentry. I want Gentry to work with you. He's going to teach you how to ride the bike. He's going to help you out. This is the, you know, I want to make sure. I want to make sure that this stays together here. So they rode the bike. Gentry. First they started riding the bike together. Doubled up. And then Gentry got her tools. He got her a little lift. Taught her a bunch of stuff about the bike. And she's a badass.
What a legend.
She ripped it and rode it. And then it came. She had it for a couple of years, actually about 3 years after her dad passed. And so I just caught it right before the thing was about to get sent to Germany. The next day after I get back from this 34-hour journey, I just want one night of sleep, and it's 7 in the morning. My phone's ringing. I'm like, I'm not going to answer this. You know, I can't answer it. But I look over and it's Gentry, and I'm like, oh, I got to answer this. You know, so Gentry's like, hey, you need to call Natasha right now. This is it's about to happen, you know? So I go, okay, I'm out of money. I got some money, but not enough to buy the bike. I need to make something happen. I was just on about 2 weeks prior, I was on an Antique Motorcycle Club of America ride and did the ride and heard about this old shop. And just after the ride one day, they do like day rides, they're like 100 miles or whatever. And we were actually, this one was specifically in Monterey. So we were ripping around. I go to this guy's shop in Monterey and I'm just looking around. I'd never been there before. And he's like, hey, I got a knuckle, you know, And I started looking at this crazy Survivor knuckle from the 40s, crazy bobber. And I come back the next day, we end up making a deal, man. I was selling stuff online that night after I left there. I'm selling stuff online, like, just trying to squeeze like $900 here or there, you know what I mean, to get the money to buy this bike. So I ended up going back there the next day, got the cash, got the bike, and showed back up with my shop with it. And my friend Eric was bugging me. He really wanted the bike, but I was like, no way, this is the fresh find. I need it. You know, I'm going to build it. It had been sitting forever. And after I get back with the double diamond and I get word that I'm going to have a possible stab at the Only One Love, I got to do whatever it takes. So it's that same morning at 7 a.m. I get the phone call. I got to scramble. So I call my buddy Eric, and I needed money. There was also, like, since I was a kid, when I lived in Colorado, there was this motor built by a guy named Standishong, who's one of my local heroes in the area that I live in now in Northern California. And I knew about him from Colorado, from this engine. And it's an insane engine. It's a dual carb, 96-inch knucklehead with airplane cylinders on it and Swiss cheese rocker boxes. And it was always, and I was supposed to get it forever, But of course, as things go, things get more expensive. So the promised price was a lot higher price at that point. And I went to a swap meet out in Davenport, and my friend was there from Colorado with the motor. And I was just like trying to work on it. And I think we came like that first day, maybe came like $500 apart, but I couldn't buy it. Next morning I show up and he's like, it's gone. I'm like, Pete, what are you talking about? How's it gone?
Shit.
He goes, some kid from LA bought it. I already knew who it was, my buddy Eric. So I'm like, motherfucker, here we go. Yeah. So he got it. I was happy for him. I wasn't crying or nothing like that. Continued on, went on with the swap meet. Months later, fast forward back to this day, I call him. I knew he wanted that bobber that I got, that 1940 knucklehead that I got in Monterey. So I go, check it out. I just got back. Tom's, the double diamond, doesn't have an engine in it. I need a panhead engine. I need that dual carb knucklehead engine, and I need cash. And we went back and forth on the deal, and we figured it out. So I still had the rental car from St. Paul. I had the minivan. Yeah. I just take off. I'm 6.5 hours from LA. I drive straight to LA that same day after 5 days on the road, 34-hour drive back, pussing out on the strip club with Nemo and all that, make it back. Get down there, do the deal with him, drive straight back, get home at 2 a.m, unload everything out of the minivan, place the panhead motor in the double diamond, sit back, take a picture. I'm just like, holy shit, this is insane. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. So then this is 2 a.m, take the picture, go home. Then I still got to return the rental van.
Shit, yeah.
But during that day, I'm hustling, I'm driving. I talked to Natasha, Tom's daughter, and I get everything sorted. I buy a flight. She knows I'm coming. Yeah. And I get out there, and then, so I do the trip to LA and back. Then I like 6 a.m, I get in at 2, put the motor in, all that. 6 a.m, shoot to Oakland Airport, return the rental van, jump on a flight, fly all the way to Boston, Massachusetts. And then I took she goes, hey, if I'm asleep, you're going to be getting in late. Just come on in. And she's in like a super old, crazy house in Massachusetts and in Waltham, Massachusetts. And it's got like gargoyles on the front. Yeah. And all I had was the address. But she goes, if I'm asleep, just whatever, come on in. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I call her a couple times. She ain't answering. So I just I guess this is the house. Like, I got dropped off by a taxi.
Imagine it wasn't.
It's super late, dude. So I go in, and it's like a creepy old house, and I'm in there.
And you guys shoot each other over there. Like, so if it wasn't the right house, that could have been
absolutely, absolutely. Shit. So I'm like, okay, I find the cow. I'm like creaking through the house, tiptoeing, because I'm like, you know what? At this point, I'm invested. I got nowhere to go. I don't even got a ride. I got to stay here even if it ain't her house. You know what I mean? And so I'm just like, I'm on a couch like this, and I'm just like sitting, like laying back, and I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. And then at 2, 3 in the morning, I start hearing some creaks upstairs. People are moving around, going to the bathroom. I'm just like, dude, this guy's going to come down and shoot me. Like, I just really wasn't sure if I was at the right place. I was genuinely not sure. Yeah. And then finally in the morning, I peek up, and she was there. And I'm like, cool. Oh my God, this is the spot, So we ended up hanging out, spent a great time together, loaded up the bike, and I drove 54 hours straight home after the 5 days and the 34 hours and the LA trip and the flight out. And
when did you sleep? When did you just catch hours here and there?
You know what? I was just on such a high from the mission and completing it. I just couldn't believe that I was able to pull them both together, kind of in the same time. It was amazing. I was on such a life goal mission.
I love it when shit like that works out. And it's especially when the money all works out. Like, say I get a tax bill. If I can't work it out, I can't work it out. But if a bike comes along, I can suddenly start pulling money out my ass.
Oh, hell yeah. You got to do what you got to do.
Totally.
Yeah. So then I ended up getting back that night. Yeah. Slept one day. Now, like I was telling you earlier, my craziest friend, Kenny, he flies to town. We do a Death Valley run, which our buddy Troy that passed away, he started the Death Valley run. And we just continue the torch on and keep running it because it's one of the best trips of the year, hands down. So the next day was the Death Valley run. I'm like, what am I going to ride? Tom's blue bike. I'm riding the only one love. Yeah. So we take off, man, and it was just it was a crazy trip. I got hazed. Tom was up there laughing at me, and he hazed me hard. And it took 12 hours to do a 3-hour portion of the ride. Yeah. And at one point we were in Bakersfield. What ended up happening is the coil took a shit and it killed the battery and killed a bunch of shit. So one of our friends that was coming on the trip that was leaving after us ended up bringing a magneto. roadside, magneto stab, here we go. I got no lights because the generator went bad as well. I got no lights, but we end up pulling in, like we're riding fucking crazy. Yeah. My buddy Kenny's on my knucklehead. He ends up blowing a head gasket at night, and he's just doesn't give a shit. I'm like, dude, don't hurt this thing. But that's what I'm thinking. But he's just riding. There's flames throwing out of the engine. You know, we finally pull in. Actually, we pull into a gas station close to the destination. Yeah. He ended up having to get a tow out to Death Valley, but I made it like 1 in the morning. Everyone's out at the campsite, and they're just lit out of their minds. And we pull in, and they're just like, "Huh? Where have you guys been? What the hell?" You know what I mean? So we do it. You know what I mean? It was like hell, but I was on a mission, and I had to get there at least to Death Valley. And everything was great, man. We had a great night, and I woke up the next morning to go take off. Made it about 5 miles out, and the rocker block on the front head of the panhead shot up. All 4 of the studs stripped out and went through the rock, put some like big dents, like dings in the rocker box. And then at that point, we pulled the rocker box apart, and it's like everything was stripped. There was no fixing it for this trip. Yeah. So after that, gave it a ton of maintenance, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And just been riding it as hard as I possibly can for Tom. And
how long you had it now then? So
it's been a few years for sure. Yeah.
And you've not had to rebuild it or anything in that time?
I had the head. You know what? I had never had the engine out. Done a lot of general maintenance, like tires, put a new generator in it, changed the coil, stuff like that. But I did take the heads off. One of the exhaust ports was broken off. I welded a new exhaust port on that. And fixed the head that was broken, of course, and went through it and took the valves out and did a valve job on it. But really, that's it. Yeah, and the thing just rips, man.
How many miles do you think you've put on it since you've had it?
Man, it's hard to know. Like I did the low run, and that was a lot of miles. I've done a lot of miles. I've done some pretty big trips on it, and it's definitely north of 10,000 miles, something like that. And counting, you know what I mean?
And it's still going fucking strong. Like the lads that you were riding with last night, they were saying like one of the guys was in a big fucking S&S motor and he couldn't fucking keep up with him, like saying that you were just ripping it down the fucking...
And it's just a 61-inch, but Jack Larson, is the guy that built it, and Jack is a master engine builder, and man, it's insane how good that thing runs. Not to mention, some of these people just aren't running their bikes hard enough. Yeah, because they're definitely faster than me, but they don't know it, you know?
Of course.
But I mean, every rev, every gear, I'm trying to throw the rod through the bottom of the case so I can go home and cry real quick and then weld them up, you know?
Yeah, sick.
So far, I haven't been able to accomplish that, you know?
It's cool as fuck, man. Where do you put your feet?
That's always a good question. Yeah. You know what? You get on the bike, and as soon as you throw it into gear and you take off,
pegs.
You got to figure out where to put your feet. You know. But my right foot usually goes on the crossover shaft for the brake. Left foot goes on the top of the primary, and it's a jockey shift. So the jockey shift moves all the way from the back to the front. And once you're in third gear, you got to move your foot to go to fourth gear, and then you bring it around the back. And I'm sure he did the same exact thing because there's just nothing else you can do but to do it, you know?
It's crazy. It's crazy how you fucking find these deals. Like when I follow you on Instagram and everything you put up, I'm like, how the fuck did he find it? Like, obviously it's different where you are because it's so much bigger than here.
For sure.
But, you know, we're not finding deals like that here.
No, I know, man. I feel for you guys. You know what I mean? It is...
Or if we are, they're fucking top dollar, you know. Like, there's a fucking knucklehead right now on Facebook for like 35, 40 grand, you know.
Jeez, man.
And it's the only one up there.
I need to bring a couple containers over here. You know what I mean? But yeah, you know what? It's like, I was just on a trip recently, and I was like, wasn't on my phone for 5 days, and I just started realizing, man, it's getting quiet. Yeah. Why is it so quiet? Yeah. And at the end, I was like, man, I got to get back to work. For 2 days, started making phone calls. Next thing you know, on the second day, bought a knucklehead. And I just realized, if you stop, the people stop calling.
Yeah,
I've been networking like crazy. Yeah. I've lived in a bunch of different states doing it, and from the Midwest to the West Coast. I got family on the East Coast. And basically, my program is besides networking with everybody, I go to every single swap meet that I can go to, which just happens to be almost every single weekend. So when I'm not working in the shop, I'm traveling and I'm trying to get the time in the shop. But you start to realize, like, man, you start traveling so much and you buy so much stuff. If you're not in the shop working on it and you just let that stuff pile up, I got a small shop, so I'm not trying to grow bigger than my fishbowl either. I really don't want to grow out of that. So you got to realize you got to keep moving the stuff. And so I got to be even when I'm on the road, man, I got to get back in the shop and push some days and really. And I got some great help these days. I got a few guys helping me out different days, people that have different ability levels doing different stuff. And you know, you just realize you just can't do it all yourself. And I got a great team of people helping me, and we're always constantly learning and working on the tooling and making things better in the shop.
I've come to like realize that the team thing is that it's fucking important. Like trying to do everything yourself, it's doesn't matter what you do, it's a losing battle. But once you've got a fucking good team, you've all got the same vision, it's fucking.
That's it, man. And we're like, for probably the last 3 years, the only thing we've been focused on is just building engines. You know, I'm welding cases and fixing heads and cases, you know, like taking big things that threw rods through them with chunks out of them, and you know, grafting pieces back in. And we're making fixtures for for fixing the cases the way they need to be fixed. And now, like actually, a guy just showed up to my shop the day before I left for this trip. I've been trying to meet up with this guy for a year, and he called me that day. I go, hey, look, I just literally the day before I got back and left for this trip, I was in Colorado. I went out to Colorado. I bought a 1947 knucklehead that I had purchased like 3 weeks before, and that was sitting out there waiting. One of my good friends was getting married in Rocky Mountain National Park, which is a beautiful place in Colorado. And I just went out there. I was like, man, I got to get this done before, because there's going to be something else, and there's going to be something else, and you can't let that shit pile up. So I went out there, got the bike, hung out with the guy that got me into Harleys. This guy Andy, who's one of my greatest benefactors. He's my best friend, man. Love this guy, owe it all to him. And we could talk about where he came in, but it's just been we did the trip, and right after the wedding, man, I was in a rental truck. I was supposed to ride out, but I ran out of time. We needed to get time in the shop. I just previously got back from something right before the Colorado trip. So it's just crazy. It's always something, right? But you got to make do with it. And so get out to Colorado. I flew out. My best buddy, Ken Nagahara, he rode by himself. I was supposed to ride with him. He is a trooper. He just got his panhead all back together and needed to get some time on the road, some road therapy, you know. So he got out there. We all met up out there, and then
it's crazy.
So, and it just doesn't even end. It's like, then my next month is going to be nuts, and time management is a big thing, you know, when you're trying to do everything. So I got, I've actually, when I was in Ohio, which was the trip previous to Colorado, I was at one of the bigger swap meets of the year. It's an Antique Motorcycle Club of America national swap meet, Wauseon, Ohio. And I was out there. It's about 6 years ago. I'm always joking with people, like, you know, I see an old biker dude or something with a Harley t-shirt. Hey, you the guy with the knucklehead cases? You know, and they're like, no, but my buddy's got, so, you know, you never know where that's going to lead. And 1 year, about 6 years ago, I was just chatting it up with this lady, Wendy, over there at Wauseon, and I go, I bet you got a 36 knucklehead. And she's like, boy, yeah. How'd you know? I do. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Shit. Just total shot in the dark. And I'm like, would you ever sell it? Hey, take my number, da-da-da-da. So every year for the last 6 years before Wauseon, before I go, hey, Wendy, do you guys want to sell the bike? Do you want it? No. Never even saw a picture of it. Just wanted it so bad. Come around to this year, I get out to Wauseon, and I run into her, and she goes, she thought my name was Jason, which I'm totally fine with that. She had my number saved as Jason. I'm like, I'll be your Jason. You
give me
know
the
what
mic.
I mean? She goes, Jason. She goes, you're supposed to call me every 6 months. You know, I'm like, you know what, Wendy? I know, but I just figured I'd leave you alone a little bit. I didn't give up, but I knew I'd see you here. She's like, well, we had an offer on it. Somebody saw it and her, you know, whatever. I go, well, we need to get talking, you know?
Yeah.
So they brought out a bike that they were trying to sell. And if that bike sold at the swap meet, the 36 was off the table again completely. And they didn't sell the bike. And towards the end, I was just like offering, trying to get it done. I'm like, let me just give you all my money right now before I buy another thing.
Yeah.
You know, I want to buy it. And afterwards, I started thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? It would be better if we do the deal at your house because the thing's a basket and there may be like something that I see that could pertain to being in that bike that I know you want to get this much money out of it, but maybe it'll be worth that much more to me if I could just pull this one extra part or something like that.
Yeah.
So we talked, and actually last week I gave her a call and we solidified the deal. She had already talked to her husband. She's the boss, man. Something about it, but she's the boss, and we worked the deal out. So after this, I get back. I'm working for 2 days. I got guys. Everybody's lined up. We're gonna push hard in the shop for 2 days. And this just came up. I'm turning 40. Oh, woohoo! I look, you know, big birthday coming.
Yeah, cool.
And we decided we're gonna go to Hawaii. So we're going to Hawaii with Kenny and his girlfriend and my wife. And Kenny's probably going to get kicked out of Hawaii for sure, but we'll see how that one goes. To be continued there. And so we're doing Hawaii for 4 days, and then I get back. I'm working 2 days, and then I'm hitting the road for the next big national AMCA swap meet, which is Davenport. So
isn't that like the biggest one in the country?
I'd say in between Davenport or Wauseon. They're heavy hitters, man. And all the players are going to be there, and you got a B on you. Anyways, I got Wendy lined up with the 36 knuckle. I was dreaming before that. Before I even talked to her, I started planning this whole trip out. I'm thinking, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm like, well, shoot, you know what? I better call her and make sure we can get this deal done, you know? In the meanwhile, like 3 days before I leave, my wife's dad's friend that I've never met, this guy named Gator, hits me up and he goes, hey, I got a guy in Colorado and who's got a bone stock 46 knucklehead, and I got a lady in Oklahoma that's got a stock 36 knucklehead. And I'm thinking like, holy shit. When it rains, it pours. This is insane. You know, I'm just trying to run the flight course here. So I start making the phone calls, and first I only got pictures of this 46 knucklehead, and I was so juiced on it, man. When you see this thing, you're like, holy shit. I call, and it's a lady. I go, hey, are you from such and such, Colorado? She goes, no. I go, oh, okay. I don't know where Gator got that from, but anyways, I seen your bike. I love it. I'd like to buy it. You know, I knew it was your husband's bike. How much do you want for it? And she said the price. I'm like, I think I'm going to take it. Just go ahead and send me some pictures of it. So she sent me some pictures of it, and it was a completely different bike that I did not want. And I go, wait a second. And then some other pictures start coming through from Gator. I'm all, shit, this is a total. I realized I was talking to the wrong lady. But I ended up.
What was the bike that she sent through?
It was a 36, or it was actually a 1933 VL flathead, which is it was a great bike, but I'm not interested. You know. So I get to thinking, and I was looking at the pictures of the VL, and in the background there was a couple other bikes, and I called her just to be nice, to be like, hey, you got the wrong guy. I'm sorry, it was a little bit of a confusion. I'm walking off the deal, but then I was like, but also I seen some stuff in the background, like what's going on with that? And she goes, oh, I got a couple other bikes, like da-da-da-da. I go, you know, and she goes, I got some parts. I got some engines sitting around, I don't know. I go, tomorrow when you get some time, why don't you send me some pictures? So she sends me pictures the next day, and there's a knucklehead motor, a panhead motor, some chassis, transmissions, all these parts, and I'm just like, oh my God, actually, we are still on. We're going to do something, you know what I mean? So right now, and also I called the guy in Colorado. After that, got lined up with him with this 46 knuckle that Gator sent me. So like after this, after Hawaii, and then after the 2 days of work, and then after that, I'm taking off. I'm going to Colorado, and I'm getting that 46, and I got another lead there on some parts, and then I'm continuing onto the journey. I just can't figure out. I got to get up to Wisconsin because that's where the 36 knuckle is.
Yeah.
But I also got to get down to Oklahoma, which is way down. And basically my goal is I am going to make it to Oklahoma to see her.
Yeah.
I hope it's on this trip. I hope I can pull it all off, but it's going to be kind of a doozy to do it.
Yeah.
But my goal is to get the 36 knucklehead. It's a basket case. Then for this deal I've been working on for a couple months, there's a kid who's got his grandfather's stash in Iowa, and he wants to sell me all the stuff. So on this trip, I'm going to Colorado, then I'm going to Wisconsin, then I'm going to Iowa, and just so happened, like, last week, another guy, can't say his name right now, gave me a lead and wants me to buy all of his stuff before he gets to Davenport. So I got 2 leads in Iowa, and what I'm trying to do is start collecting the parts for this 36 as we're going on the road. And I get to Davenport, start collecting some other pieces, yada, yada. I'm going to be working on this thing out of the back of the truck. And then after Davenport, my good friend Burrito Rick goes, hey, he's got a house in Sturgis. He goes, the AMCA, the Antique Motorcycle Club, they're doing they do road runs all over, like the one in Monterey when I found that knuckle I sold to my buddy Eric. And I try to attend them. They're a great time, man.
Yeah.
And they're like 3-day runs, beautiful areas, great stretches of road. They're doing their Sturgis Black Hills rally, and it's right after Davenport. So on Saturday at Davenport, me and Burrito Rick are driving to, it's about 10 and a half hours out to South Dakota, get to his house in Sturgis. He's going to show me how to do the registration out there, so I'm legal. And by this point, I'm hoping that I can get this 36 knucklehead running as a basket and get it running by the end of this point. And then I'm going to take off and do the AMCA road run in Sturgis Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then after that, there's a really famous museum at Anamusa, Iowa. I hope I'm saying that right. That is going out of business, and they had an amazing collection. Some of the bikes already went to the places they were on loan and stuff, but they're selling off like over 300 bikes and a ton of different memorabilia and stuff like that. So I'm going to be driving home and trying to bid online on some bikes. I got some bikes that I'm looking at, and it's just like nonstop.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like
crazy.
as far as my little pea brain can remember what I got to do.
Yeah.
But there's going to be something after that and something after that, and that's the whole thing. You know what?
Yeah.
When you're young and you feel good and you can do it, you got to hit it hard while you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I might die right after this, man, because I can't breathe from talking. But,
Sick. I mean, the fucking travel alone, man, like, just, it's crazy compared to here. Do you know what I mean? You can get from the top to the bottom in a day. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
How many times have you done the ride from coast to coast?
Oh,
like you did
man,
for 21
like
days?
Every other week, I don't know, you know what I mean? And I try to get it done as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Like, when it's time to go, I like to drive all the way. And
so do you do it with someone else so you can?
No, I'm usually by myself always, just because, like, you never know what the road's going to present. A lot of times I'll try to fly. Nowadays, I try to fly to where I go to save time so I can get more time in the shop to work, fly to where I'm about to go, and I rent a vehicle and then drive it back and return it when I get home. And that's like been the best thing going for me because you just, also, man, gas is so expensive. You start chalking up all the travel and time on the road, and you realize, like, it's going to cost me more to get there than it would if I just get there, the other way.
Yeah, it's got crazy now.
Yeah.
Like the gas and shit.
But, there's the road provides. I got crazy trips. Last year, when I went to Wauseon, there was a 66 El Camino, man, that I wanted so bad.
Yeah.
One of my friends in Indiana had it. And it was an old Crazy Survivor. It looked like a Crazy Survivor painted tank with crazy artwork all over it.
Yeah.
And wanted the thing for years. And I just told him, hey, Dave, whenever you're done with it, just let me know.
Yeah.
And a few months before Wauseon last year, or, not this last one that happened before that, he goes, I'm going to sell it. How much you want for it? Go, boom, great deal. I'll buy it. I'll be out there after. I'll pick it up after Wauseon because my other good buddy it's his friend. We live in the same, they live in the same town. So I ride back up with my buddy Junior to the spot. We pick up the car, we jump in it, Get about 10 miles down the road, I'm just juiced, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a piece of shit too, but I'm just like, here we go. And I bought a bunch of shit at Wasion. I bought a whole bike. I bought a panhead, a bunch of parts. I bought a set of 46 knucklehead cases, and just a bunch of stuff. And we get to the first gas station. I'm filling it up with gas. My buddy goes inside to get some smokes or something. And I'm just sitting there taking a picture of the car, just so happy. And he comes out, he goes, dude, that thing's dumping gas everywhere. You better get out of here quick before they charge you a cleanup fee. I look under the thing, I'm like, holy shit. So, and like, we just take off. We got about another 10 miles to get back to his place. And it was just that I look back in the rear view, and it's a trail of tears the whole way. Gas was like $6 a gallon at that time. You know, it was expensive. Get back to his place, throw a bucket under it because it was still leaking. And I realized, dude, the gas tank was almost about to fall out. There was one bolt with about one cunt hair of a thread still threaded onto the thing, and it was about to drop. But it had ripped the fuel sending unit out.
Right.
So just barely made it, man. I get there, I'm like, okay, we got some shit to do before I drive this thing back. So that night, we actually find the unit that I needed at an auto parts store. I install it, get the tank secured right, and I go to turn it over, and the battery's dead. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. So
it's always the way, though, and it wouldn't be a fun trip if it was just like, well.
Oh, man, dude.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There'd be no story if you can't get there and get home and then it's done.
You can't get this lucky without having some very unfortunate situations. You got to get some grace somewhere down the line. You know what I mean?
Totally.
So we get to, we do some stuff. You know, I ended up getting an alternator and a new battery because the alternator ended up taking a shit. I take off. Next day, man, it's just hot as fuck in there. I'm driving through Chicago. I got the windows down, my shirt's off. I'm just like, oh my God, here we go. Got the thing loaded up, got the panhead and the parts in the back. And I make it all the way to Nebraska. It's like 9 o'clock at night. Have a fucking, the tire just peels off. And I'm all over the road. And I get like, holy shit. I didn't even know what happened, dude. I like just the tire didn't even blow out. The tread came off of it and slapped up into the corner panel and made it. And then next thing you know, the tire went flat and I'm all over the place. I'm like, holy shit, what am I going to do? You know, I drove on it for like 6 more miles. Pull into this town. There's a tire store. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, but it's closed. You know, it's late.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm like, just going to hang out there. You know what? And the power of Instagram reached out.
Yeah, man.
Got a friend of a friend, ends up coming out to help me in his van. Means well everything he tried to do. He goes, I got a Chevy van. It's got a spare tire. I'll put it on your car. So he comes out. We put the thing on, and the thing's flat. We're like, fuck, dude. We tried to fill it. It wouldn't take air. So he's like, all right. We put the original tire back on. He goes, look, I live about 25 miles from here. Let's see what you could do, you know? So I drive the tire about 25 miles to his house, get to his place, and we're just like, you know what? We'll figure it out in the morning. He takes me around the next morning. We get the tire fixed, yada, yada. Had a great time. Then I continue on. I'm back on my trip. I get to Kearney, Nebraska. I'm still in Nebraska. And this thing is making all sorts of noise the whole entire trip. So I got headphones on, man. I just got to listen to some music because I forget to mention the reason it is so loud is the exhaust keeps falling off. And it is so
Did you get a good deal on it?
It was a great deal.
Okay, cool.
It was a great
all right then.
You got to want it. You know what I mean? It was a great deal.
Cool.
Still to this day, it was a great deal.
Yeah.
But there was some unfortunate situations that happened. Yeah. I don't blame my buddy at all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, do you think it'll make it? Yeah, I might think it'll make it. It depends on your ability, right?
Yeah,
and
of
like
course.
what your dedication level is. I'm like, okay. So here we go. I take off and I'm in Kearney, Nebraska. And I got the headphones on. I don't know how long I was probably dragging the exhaust. Next thing you know, boom! And this thing is ticking like crazy. Dude, I pull into this gas station. I threw the rod right through the bottom of the engine. I blew the fuck out of this thing. So I'm like, okay, here we go. I know somebody in Kearney, Nebraska. Shit. I call my buddy Scott who works at a transmission shop. And I hate doing it because it's like, I probably should have called him 30 minutes before, like, hey, I'm passing through. Love to see you. Let's catch a burrito or something, you know. But also, I got to get back. There's something else to do. Got to go see my family, whatever. So He goes, okay, I'm on lunch right now. I'm like 8 miles from you. I'll pick you up. Grabs me, tows me all the way to his boss's shop. And the boss is like, I start looking into my options, you know? And it's like, U-Haul wants $2,500 for a truck and a trailer.
Fuck.
But the truck's there, but I got to drive 163 miles to get the trailer and then back, and I'm paying $2,500. I'm like, this ain't gonna work. Yeah. So his boss, the other option had a rebuilt 350 engine for $3,000. And I'm like, continue on this amazing journey or give up and spend money for nothing and still not have the engine. And I'm like, I'm going to do the engine if that's okay, guys. You know what I mean? And then my buddy's like, okay, here we go. I'm going to take the rest of the day off. We're going to install this engine.
Did you do it in the day?
We pulled the engine out that day that I blew it up, pulled the engine out, put the new engine in it, and they followed me to the Nebraska border to Colorado. And I take off. I make it into Colorado. I get through Denver. I fill up. It's like 1 a.m. Fill up the gas tank. I'm just like, damn, this is crazy. We fixed the exhaust, had that shit hung up good at this point. It was still rickety, you know what I mean? But we were doing it. And we get to, I end up start climbing this really big hill, about 3 hours from my buddy's place. I'm going to make it in the middle of the night. He's older. It's the buddy that got me into the bikes. And he's just like, show up, sleep in the car, wake me up. I'll be up early. We'll get it on. Man, I'm climbing this huge hill, and I just blow the transmission. And at this point, I've had like such a trip, you know, everything that happened. I'm just like, holy shit, dude. And actually, I needed to get back. So, okay, whatever. It was like 3 or 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I got to call AAA. I get a tow coming. I wait there for 9 hours.
That's always the way when you wait.
I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know why. They just couldn't. I was in the mountains.
It's the same here. Same here.
You couldn't get a truck out there.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting. And by the point I'm waiting 6 hours, I call my buddy Andy. I go, dude, I've been waiting here forever. I think I'm going to probably have to give up this portion of the trip at this point. And the savior on the trip as well was previously I bought a bike from Andy. I wasn't going to pick it up on this trip, but I also bought a truck because I'd started buying trucks from him. Because like, man, if I could buy a Grant, this is before I figured out the minivans and the scams, how to do the rentals and stuff on the low. So I was buying cheap vehicles and loading them up and flying out and loading them up and going back. So I bought like a Ford F-250. It should have been badass. You know, it was waiting there, and I had this bike. So he comes down, and by this point, I waited 9 hours on the side of the road. He comes down with his truck and trailer. I give up. I decide to tow the truck to a transmission shop, tow the El Camino. They're going to rebuild it. I got to leave. Yeah. Andy grabs the bike that was in the back, all my parts. We shoot 3.5 hours, back out to his place, spend the night. Next morning, I load up the bike, the parts, the bike I bought from him in the new truck. And at this point, I pulled an audible because I was like, well, I got this lady in Utah I've been talking to for a while, and she's got some parts. Instead of doing what I was going to do, now I got this nice truck, which I'm thinking is great, and it's got a trailer hitch on it. The bed's already full. I call this lady, hey, I actually am going to be in your area tomorrow. Can I buy the load? Yeah, no problem. Come on by. Drive next morning, drive 7 hours straight out to Utah. Everything's great. I'm maxing this thing out, doing over 100. I'm feeling great, you know. I get to U-Haul, I rent the trailer, I go to her house, I buy the whole entire load. Not to mention, we're going through like a crazy heat streak. It was 110 degrees out. I leave her house. Man, I'm all in. I spent all my money. I got 4 bikes, engines, parts, everything. I got the second truck of the trip, the U-Haul trailer. 20 minutes climbing this huge road. I'm on I-70 climbing this huge grade, 110 degrees. I blow the engine in the truck that I just bought. And I was just like, oh my God, this is par for the course. Back to the golf, baby. So I'm like, okay, I got a buddy.
Trip now.
So I'm just like freaking out because I just the day before, 9 hours on the side of the road for AAA. I'm sitting on the phone with AAA. One of my friends calls in. I'm like, I'll put them on hold. They're not going to answer anyways. Yeah. He goes, hey, Big Scott is in Utah. If you can get 150 miles or whatever to here. So I call Big Scott. He's all, no problem. Dude, I click over. AAA, I'm on like this on the phone. The truck's dead, and I'm sweating like crazy, dude. It's so hot, and like all of a sudden, this tow truck turns around. Hey, you need help? Oh, hell yeah, I do. Fuck. I mean, they prey on stranded dudes like me. You know what I mean? He's like, I can get you there. You know, you tell him where I need to go. He's like, $900. I'm like, yep, load it up. Throws the truck on the flatbed, hooks up the U-Haul onto the back of the truck, and we take off and get to Big Scott's. That night, we unload the bikes out of the truck, we unload everything out of the trailer, push everything into his place. The blown up truck gets unloaded, it's sitting there, and we're just like weighing out the options, you know, like I'm gonna have to get a U-Haul truck now.
Fuck.
So I talked to U-Haul. They're like, you got to return the U-Haul. The next day, we go and return the U-Haul at one place. We got to go to a different U-Haul to get the truck. We get into the truck. We load all 4 bikes, all the stuff into the new U-Haul. And then at this point, I'm like, what are my options with this truck? My buddy lives in a nice neighborhood. They got like homeowners association and shit. You ain't leaving this truck here overnight. So my only option was this thing's blown up. Nobody wants it. I scrapped the thing for $400. Take it to the scrapyard. I jump in the U-Haul. I take off in the U-Haul. I'm thinking, hell yeah, turn the AC up, baby. This is great, you know. And dude, I'm not even lying. I get another 20 minutes into it. I'm in the Arizona desert because they live like right on the border, Utah, Arizona, and it was hotter there than it was when I blew up the other truck. I blow up the U-Haul. Blow the U-Haul up.
Fuck.
And I'm just like,
you need to slow down,
dude. I can't even believe it. You can't even make this shit up.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? I ended up getting towed into Vegas. I was like gonna have to wait hours. The people at the U-Haul dealer aren't allowed to touch people's property. They actually have like specific movers for for touching the people's personal property. And it was going to be hours beforehand. I'm like, and I had to wait for the maintenance guy to come just to tell me the truck was blown up when I already knew it was blown up. You know what I mean? So I go, I tell you what, I'm going to rent another U-Haul right now because I ain't got time for this shit. I backed the U-Haul up to the other U-Haul, put everything into the other U-Haul, and all they had was a smaller one, but it still worked out. And after that, man, I drive about an hour. I get to the Nevada border, and I just realized I left all the titles for the El Camino, the bikes I bought, everything in the blown up U-Haul. So I got to turn around, get back to Vegas, get all this shit handled, and then I get to, then after that, I drive 10 hours straight home. I make it. No big deal. Next morning, wake up, I gotta unload this shit. I unload everything. I go and return the U-Haul back to the dealer. My wife's following me, and we drive 3 hours up to Tahoe and made it 10 minutes before my brother-in-law's wedding. Like barely squeezed through. And that was why I had to give up the trip on the El Camino. I wanted to find a transmission to put in this thing because it was such an amazing trip at this point. I'm like, we already did the engine. Why not drop a transmission in it in Colorado? You know what I mean? So we ended up like, that's why I had to give up because I knew I had to make it to the wedding, but made it to the wedding. It was great, you know, and yada, yada, yada. Now,
that's crazy, man.
Fast forward, we got a month later, we got Davenport coming up. So the transmission gets rebuilt, whole new exhaust. I'm like, boys, I ain't got time to do this shit again. So like, this car's all over the road. They rebuilt the front end, you know, like did a bunch of work to it. And I get to... Once I get to Davenport, and not to mention also, I'm starting to remember this shit, but I bought a knucklehead when I was on that trip, when I blew up the
fucking knucklehead whisperer.
When I was on that trip when I was still in the El Camino coming into Colorado, I started working out this deal on a 46 knucklehead that was in Colorado. I was going to go pick it up. But then once everything fell apart, I was like, well, I'm still going to make this work.
Yeah.
So my buddy Andy, the guy that I've been talking about that got me into bikes, he went down and got it for me because I headed off.
Yeah.
You know, a few days later, we ended up making the deal. So now I know the El Camino's getting worked on.
Yeah.
We got a month to do it. And I got the bike sitting there waiting. So here we go. I'm going to fly out to Davenport.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find some shit. I ended up finding a set of, the only thing I bought at the swap meet that year was a set of 1936 knucklehead cases.
Yeah.
And I was just tickled. You know what I mean? I wanted them so bad. Got a lot of other 36 parts. Then I take the cases on the plane with me. I fly from Davenport to Colorado. My buddy picks me up. We go up to his house. I'm finally getting the first look at this bike that I just bought. Like, holy shit, you know? And I start looking at it. The thing's got 36 heads on it. It's got 36 oil pump, 36 lifter blocks, 36 push rod tubes, and not to mention a 36 cam cover. So I had everything to build the engine except for the cases, but I had the cases because I had them in the van with me, or in the truck with me right then. So it was just like amazing how that thing came together. That engine, I finished that engine after that. We built it and made it back, no problem. You know, of course, just me and the El Camino and the 46 knucklehead. Get back to my shop, chop that thing, chopped it all, the engine all down, got all the parts off of it, and I was just like, I mean, you can't make that shit up. How perfect it worked out. So it was an uneventful trip. I make it back in the El Camino, and I'm sitting there. The next day, I was still loving it. And especially now, like we got work done. The exhaust sounds good, dude. I don't got to wear the earmuffs anymore. You know, I can listen to it. And I get out to the next day. I just went down to my marina, shot a video of it, and a guy hits me up and he's like, "Hey, would you sell that?" And I'm like, "Wife tells me not to. She said to swap meet it for a while. She loved it, you know, and I did too." And I'm like, after all that shit, how could I sell it? I got to enjoy it. So he's like, well, I told him, I go, "Man, I got a lot of money into it at this point. Like, I got this much money into it." He's like, "Well, take it." And I was like, "Well, no, I didn't say that I was going to sell it for that much." So we ended up working out a deal, and a good friend that's a famous musician, now he's a good friend, you know, ended up buying it, and he's tickled, man. It's living in Nashville now. And it was hard to see it go, but you know what? I got to be realistic. I had 3 El Caminos at that time. And
like you said, you got to turn it over, or it just
I'm
piles
not
up.
even. Yeah, I'm not even a car guy, man. I know, like, I built some cars. And you could put 10 bikes where you could put one motor, or you could put 10 bikes where you could put one car. So, like, you know, wheel estate is everything. And, basically, I don't even know. It's just, it's one thing after another.
It's a fucking sick story, honestly.
Yeah.
Sick. Man, thank you so much for coming on. Really, I really appreciate it. We're at an hour there.
Oh, no kidding.
How quick is that?
Right on.
That's what I was saying before. It's crazy. Like, I've done like 4-hour ones where we're like, what the fuck?
Jesus, man.
That's crazy, isn't it? But I'd like to do another one. We'll talk about fucking Andy, and we'll talk about 21 Days Under the Sky.
Oh, there's so much more.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll do it. Definitely.
Right on.
Thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you so
on.
much.
I really appreciate it, honestly.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, man. Nice one.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.